Hello and welcome to your introduction to HMCTS. I'm Hafsa. I work here at Good Things Foundation on the HMCTS project, and today I'd like to give you an introduction to HMCTS services, help you to understand what assisted digital is and how you can support HMCTS customers, and also go through a bunch of practicalities like how you book appointments or get paid. So you're either a volunteer or a staff member from your centre, and you're one of 18 centres around England and Wales delivering HMCTS assisted digital. And as you can see on this heat map, there are a number of organisations across England and Wales. And they're different types of organisations, right through from citizens advice bureaus to community centres to more traditional learning and education centres. Let's start with a bit of background as to who HMCTS is and why we're doing this. So HMCTS stands for Her Majesty's Courts and Tribunal Service. The Ministry of Justice sets and carries out government policy for criminal, civil and family justice systems for England and Wales. HMCTS is the agency that administers justice for the Ministry of Justice. So they look after courts and tribunal service, hence the name. They give people access to justice through the courts and tribunals, and this could be getting a divorce, it could be adopting or protecting children, it could be asserting your employment rights, for example, or it might be challenging a decision of government body, such as DWP, if you're on benefits, for example. So HMCTS is currently going through a massive reform. Why? It's pretty old, a bit like this picture. Not a huge amount has changed over the course of years, particularly with physical buildings, but it can seem quite unwieldy both for people seeking justice and for people that work there. And actually, it's a £1 billion reform programme, which is actually the most expensive reform programme government have ever invested in. And it's all about improving access and experience for customers and reducing the cost for government. So one part of reform is creating a digital option, not just a paper one. There will always still be a paper option for court processes and court forms. But the 5 or 6 key services that have moved to digital and that you will be working on supporting customers with to begin with this year are social security and child benefit. So that, well, I mean, it's social security and child benefit. So the main one this year is PIP appeals, and that will go on there. But later on, there will be other welfare benefits that you can appeal online. The next one is civil money claims, so that's when somebody owes you money or you are trying to claim money from somebody. The other one is single justice service, so those are non-prisonable offences like speeding fines, for example. You've got divorce, which you can now do online. Probate, which is the legal process for dealing with the estate of someone who's died. And we've got help with fees, and that's an additional form that you do prior to the above 5 if you are needing additional fees to help you with the court fees. So many of the people that we work with will probably be in that situation. So these are the examples of some of those forms that they're digitising. So in theory, that's great, right? So you've got online applications and communications, which is much quicker to process. So it's quicker for the customer and it's quicker for the people working within government. You've got other things that they're doing, like virtual hearings, so you can attend court from the comfort of your room if you have difficulty with mobility or if you find a court intimidating. And generally, all of the services are about making the processes simpler and easier to understand and do yourself. So a lot of that old jargon, old legal jargon, much of which was in Latin, is going. However, you know, and we know, and in fact HMCTS know, that there are a number of people who are digitally excluded and won't be able to benefit from this. And you'll have seen that with other services such as Universal Credit, for example, where you're supporting them. That's why they want to run an assisted digital service. So the model is that They will offer telephone support through HMCTS themselves. They have call centres, but they also want to be able to offer face-to-face support, and that's why they're working with us. So through our centres, the centres in our network, including you who have opted, your centre has opted to be in this pilot, will deliver that face-to-face support. But I think what's interesting and what we're especially interested in is that what the service looks like, what assisted digital looks like, is not fixed in stone. So we've got this model to start with, and we've got this year to pilot and test and alter it until it works. But HMCTS don't just want us as a delivery partner, they want us, through the help of you guys, to help define and shape what good assistance looks like through government. And as experts in engaging communities and delivering digital skills, we're looking to you to help define this, which is a really, really exciting opportunity. So we want to learn throughout this year, who are the real customers, what are their real needs, how do we really reach them, what are the best way of delivering assistance? Is it through one-to-one? Is it through group? Do you have to go and do outreach in home visits? Do they come to you in the centres? And who does that work best for? What do online centres need from government and from us if they're going to deliver this type of service? And most importantly, how do we create a smooth process for HMCTS customers, people using HMCTS, so they don't feel like they're shoved from pillar to post, but they have access to justice smoothly. And I suppose also, most importantly, how can it be affordable and sustainable for us and for government? So some really big questions there, but that's why we're really excited about this pilot, because we're going to be learning through doing. So what do we actually mean when we say assisted digital then? Let's start with what we know. So assisted digital is support, is help for people who need to use online services but don't have the skills, ability or access to do that on their own. So this could be face-to-face, it could be on the phone, it could be web chat. Face-to-face assisted digital that you're delivering is to provide access to a digital device. It's to help people understand online guidance, and it's to help people navigate the online form and ultimately get to the point of completion. It might be that they decide not to at the end, which is absolutely fine, but you're helping them with that process. And support will look slightly different for each customer, and it's okay, and we want you to be able to tailor that session to meet their needs. So for example, some customers will really want you to sit with them throughout and explain each step of the form, where other customers may be more independent and just need you on certain bits where they get stuck, or a bit where they can't work out how to upload their form, or and some people will need you to do some typing for them. So who is it that gets support? So this service is definitely not for absolutely everyone or people that can do it for themselves. People who can't complete forms by themselves because they don't have the digital skills or confidence. So that might be that they can't navigate websites, they can't use keyboards or upload documents. And you'll be used to working with these people in your centres, of course. It's that they don't have the capability to complete the forms themselves. So that means they might have physical or mental health problems that prevents them, learning difficulties or language barriers, for example. And then it's people who don't have access to a suitable digital device or internet connection. People who need, and it's also about people who need that extra face-to-face support, because otherwise they could, of course, call the telephone support, and it might be that you meet people that's what they want and that's what they prefer and that's all they need, and you can signpost them to that. But of course we know that a lot of people will need face-to-face support. And it goes without saying that people needing this support are usually vulnerable and anxious well before they turn up to the appointment. So assisted digital is also what you do best, which is offering a safe and supportive space for them to complete the form. I mean, interestingly, what it's not is a digital skills session. So HMCTS aren't funding you in this appointment to take them through Learn My Way or take them through any other digital skills lessons. It's helping them through the form. So thought I'd talk a little bit about assistance versus legal advice, because it can all feel quite grey. So legal advice, and hopefully there's a few definitions here that will help, is providing your opinion to an individual about how they should deal with a specific legal matter. And ultimately, the HMCTS forms are legal matters. So legal advice consists of much more than just representing someone in court. For example, filling out legal documents on behalf of another person, giving advice on what they should write in those forms, and speculating about the outcome of a case. So sort of saying, well, if you write this, you're more likely to have your appeal heard. All of these count as providing legal advice. And because these situations all affect the legal rights of individuals, it is illegal for anybody who is not licensed to practice law to offer that legal advice. So it's really important that you don't do that in your sessions. HMCTS are able to offer procedural guidance in their services, which is why they're happy for you to do that. But they're not permitted as an independent court or trained to give any legal advice. And this is to ensure that HMCTS remains unbiased in the facilitation of the court services at all times. And of course, this applies to all HMCTS funded projects like you guys. So it's critical that you stick to this, really. So how can you assist then? So you can read out and paraphrase the information on screen to help people understand the form. You can point out important facts on the screen, often that customers may overlook. You can explain the process, the timescale, what happens next. You can help them with the spelling and grammar if they ask this of you. And of course you can listen and reassure where you feel able to, which I'm sure you're great at already. And if they need advice, which you'll be able to recognise, you can signpost them to places they can go. And I think importantly here, we've also agreed with HMCTS that you can type on behalf of customers if they aren't unable to do so for themselves. And if you do this, the customer, HMCTS call them customers, the people that you're working with, will have to sign an authorization form, which at the end of this presentation, I'll show you a link where you can find that. But they do need to just sign a form saying that they asked you to type on their behalf and that they're happy that what you've typed accurately represents what they said. And when you fill in that form, you will need to send it to our email address, which is also at the end of this presentation. So that's a caveat, but ultimately it's good because we recognise that some people aren't going to be able to type, and if they were going to be able to type, you would literally be there all day and it would make them more uncomfortable. But of course, when you're typing their words. You're not typing your own version of what you heard or what you think they should be saying. So there's a lot you can do. So what can't you do? Well, I've kind of covered that. You can't offer legal advice during the appointment, or opinions, suggestions, or advice on what you think they should write in the form. And we think that you should avoid using phrases like "what I would do is this," and instead you can say "what I think" or "what I think you should do," and instead you can use phrases such as "well, the website is giving you these options to choose from. So what would you like to do next?" and help them understand what those options are. But it's just ensuring that you're always being led by the customer. So what do you do if people need legal advice? And I'm sure they will. And more often than not, people may come to you having already had legal advice, but you'll be able to see within the appointment when they don't. You can show people how to search for advice on gov.uk and any of the recommended HMCTS resources. You can signpost them to local and appropriate advisors, especially ones that you work with and trust. And if your centre does offer legal or certified advice in areas that are relevant, like family law, welfare benefits, divorce, any of the ones that we've covered, you can absolutely offer advice. But because of the caveats I was talking to you about around HMCTS and their independence, it's really important that you offer this before the appointment or after the appointment, or you pause the appointment and return to it later, so they understand that the service that they're receiving is unbiased. So you can do it before and after, but not during. So, of course, it's a bit of a legal and linguistic minefield, and we're aware that This may be challenging for some of you, maybe more for some than others. So we and we're aware that these boundaries are grey, and ultimately we want to be able to improve the experience. So please let us know how it's working. We have got space and an opportunity through this project to be able to shape how we deliver both of those things and feedback to HMCTS. Right, so there's a bit about the introduction to HMCTS and advice and assistance. So now let's get into the practicalities. How do appointments or the assistance, how does the assistance work? So we start off with either a referral from HMCTS, or it's you guys that identify users, identify customers in need of support. So where it's a referral, the HMCTS call centre, which I've mentioned, may identify people that call them up that actually really need face-to-face support, and it's not working with telephone support, and so they will send a referral form to us with the names and details and a little bit about the help that they need, and we'll send that to you. And so it might be that you receive some referrals that way. But another huge way, and this is the way that we often see online centres doing the best work, is that they identify people in need through their user base, through their user base, like people that use the centre already, or through partners that they work with that signpost people to their centres. So however you identify those customers is up to you. Online centres are doing a whole host of different things. Some of them have set up partnerships with the job centre. Some of them already have those people walking through their door at regular drop-ins. So the first part of the stage is obviously identifying that person that needs that support. So the next part, I guess, would be booking an appointment. It might be that that person has turned up and they want the appointment there and then, and you actually have a volunteer or a staff ready to help them, and so you can have that straight away, and that's fine. But more often than not, you might need to book that and at a suitable time and date. And also, you might need to understand their needs so you can tailor the appointment a bit better too. So it might be that they need a private room rather than doing it in the open. And it's important that you manage their expectations of what you can and can't offer. So particularly if you're booking that appointment over the phone, it's useful to do that. And we have in our online centre handbook, we have got a checklist for you with all of the appointments for each stage that I'm going through, to prompt you to make sure that you do these things, which can help as a guide. So then the appointment itself, you're obviously going to take them through the online form that they need to complete, and you can do that through different ways. So some centres are going to be just running one-to-one appointments, and I think that's probably the most, and pre-booked appointments, and that's probably how most centres are going to do it. But other centres are also adding it to their drop-in services. So people might come there and then, and you do it, and then you might, see another person straight after. How you do that is up to you, and actually we want to learn from you about the best way to deliver that assistance for the customers that you're meeting. So it'd be really good for you to share with us how you're offering that support. So the other thing you'll need to do in that appointment, the end appointment, is get customer feedback. So again, in our online centre handbook, we've got a link, and on our page, which I'll take you through right at the end of this presentation, we've got a link to that form. It's just 3 really simple questions for customers to fill out, because this helps us understand whether it's working or not. So the next thing you have to do is update Capture It. So Capture It is our content management system. So you will upload the name of the person, fill in the name of the person, a couple of details, and then the details of the appointment. There is a separate webinar on how to fill this out. So I'm not going to talk about it too much here, but you'll complete that ideally straight after the appointment. We ask in our terms and conditions that you do that within 24 hours. We appreciate it's not going to always happen straight away, but it's really important that that's done as soon as possible so we can understand the outcomes of the appointment and actually how many people you're seeing. And then I guess there might be a further appointment. Some people will be able to finish it in one go, others might need a couple of goes, and that's up to you to decide with that customer. I'll go on to payment in a moment, but you receive a one-off payment per person per service. So that covers whether it's one appointment or two or more. And then the biggest thing about all of this is it's about testing and learning as we go. So we are going to be getting feedback from Capture It, so that's how we're going to be understanding what's going on. But also you're going to be receiving monthly catch-ups from us at your centre, from our network team, just to help understand how it's all going, what's working for you, what's not working for you, how we can improve it, so we can be changing the service to make it better as we go along. We'll also be inviting you guys to take part in any design workshops we're doing, or any ways that we are influencing changes in our approach and influencing HMCTS, so you can be as much part of that as you want. Great. So I mentioned payment. It's £70 per person per service. So what does that mean? So I've already mentioned that there are 5 key services that we're launching with. They're going to be small next year as well. So HMCTS are willing to pay £70 per person per service they use. So it might be sometimes that you get one person completing 2 services, in which case you will get paid 140. So for example, if they need to do help with fees first, and then they need to do a divorce application, that's 2 services, and so you will log that separately on Capture It, and you'll get paid 2 times for that. If it's just one, and actually they need 2 or 3 appointments to do that, you still just get paid £70 for that. But we thought that after a lot of consultation with centres that was a good rounded flat fee that could cover your shorter appointments and your longer appointments too. So this page I keep referring to is a web page that we have, and here's the link that you can click on, and this is your go-to place for a number of important things that we need to that are going to be your toolkit for delivering this service. So the first one is the service handbook, and that basically covers pretty much everything I've said throughout this presentation, so please have a look through that. It's got links to the key documents that I've mentioned, so that checklist, which is really helpful actually when you're booking and doing appointments and you're doing the follow-up, and also things like the customer feedback form, which is useful to have a stack of, so it's easy to grab when you're delivering the appointments. We've also got on there downloadable posters, so for each service we've got a poster that you can stick up in your centre if you want, or with your other agencies that you work with, so they can So people can know that you're offering this support, basically. And then most importantly on there, which you need to do to be able to deliver this service, is that there's training materials for each of the HMCTS services. What we've done to try and make it really easy for you, we've done a webinar for each one, and we've recorded those webinars, so they're less than an hour long, and for each of those services you get to understand, you get to hear from HMCTS, they go through the online form with you, so you get to view it before you actually do it live with somebody, and you get a little bit of background knowledge as to what probate actually is, or civil money claims. I certainly didn't know what they were before I started, so they've been really, really helpful, and you can see a YouTube link video to each one of those services on this link. So a little bit about service standards here. So we expect online centres to, as part of this project, to ensure all staff and volunteers have DBS checks in place. So I'm guessing if you're doing this training, you probably already have one. If you haven't, you need to speak to your centre manager. We want to ensure all staff and volunteers have completed the training, and so by that we mean you've watched this, you've watched the Capture It one, and you've watched the webinars for all of the online services. Honestly, it will be much easier and you'll be a lot more efficient and helpful to a customer if you've been able to see that form and understand how it works before you do it live with somebody. And for each centre, we expect that you have a policy already around risk assessments, whether that's for drop-ins or home visits or one-to-one appointments, and that you're following those. And as I mentioned, we also expect that you record outcomes on Capture It accurately and in time, so that's within 24 hours of an appointment. And then some of the softer skills, I guess, which maybe I don't need to remind you to do at all, but we expect you to be honest, impartial, helpful and polite, of course, with customers. we expect you to be sensitive, which I'm sure you already are, but really be able to adapt to the needs of all of our customers and let us know what's working and what's not working. We really want to make sure that you let customers know what happens next and how to check progress, so they leave feeling that they can independently manage this as much as they can, even though they might need to ask you for some support. And we really want to ensure that you protect customers' personal documents and information. And we've got in the Online Centre Handbook, it gives you a little bit more guidance on how to do that. So anything that you have printed, you need to have shredded. You need to ensure that people have consented to you recording bits of information. We've got more guidance in there, but this is really, really important. And then lastly, we want you to take complaints seriously. So if any are made, we want you to investigate them and provide a considered and appropriate response. So we don't have targets as such, because we want this to be based on needs, but we would like all of the appointments to happen within 10 working days of either a referral or a booking. And in many cases, it needs to happen sooner. So for some services, like with PIB appeals, you often only have 10 days to appeal. So actually, when it's emergency cases, we'd like you to do those within 3 days. These are the targets around 90 and 95%, just because we want to be ambitious. Again, we want capture it to be inputted 24 hours after the appointment. We want appointments to always start within 10 minutes of scheduled time. Of course, if the customer is late, that's up to you. Maybe you want to reschedule it. Maybe you want to just wait for them. That's fine. But at least on your side, that you're always prompt. And that customers... We've got a target here around 90% of customers complete their online process. But HMCTS have made it clear to us that the completion of the form is not the only outcome. Some people might want to complete the rest themselves, or some people may decide not to, and that's absolutely okay. But we are aiming to get people to a point where they complete the form comfortably and confidently. And then we've got a customer service rating where they fill out in their feedback, and we like it, to be as high as possible. But we need you to get them to fill it out. And we want to ensure that all complaints are resolved within 5 working days. So those are a few of the slightly more boring bits, but important nevertheless. And, our aim is to improve access to justice and to shape what assisted digital looks like and show government how it best can be delivered. And we've created the guidance and processes in the handbook to try and have a consistent approach, but also we want to learn from your expertise and judgment, so you're okay to adapt those approaches to meet the needs of customers, but we want you to tell us about it so we can also learn what works best. And finally, before you get going, if there are any questions before, during or after, drop us a line. Holly from our network team is your key contact, so I've put her contact here, but if you also call this number and you want to speak to myself, Hafsa, that's absolutely fine. Just get in touch whenever you need to. Yeah, so we're really excited about how this is going to go, and we hope you are too. We look forward to you supporting people that come through your door, and we look forward to hearing from you.